Ladies and gentlemen, and all genders outside and in between, please be aware that this campaign is set in a dark world, full of mysteries and monsters. It may also touch on subjects that are triggering, and may not be appropriate for sensitive audiences. Thank you.
The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is evil, then in time, your entire body will be made up of similar stuff. For a lamp, however, the eye is uncannily unhelpful in the face of true darkness. Perhaps you've seen darkness like this before. The crushing weight of it like a physical force, encroaching on all sides, where the glow of your lanterns don't reach. But in these tunnels, even for those familiar with obscurity and obfuscation, the light is lacking, oppressively so. Even so, you make your way further from the sight of the body, left discarded, hearing the door thud shut and click closed behind you. And you head deeper into the passageways of Vreta Island. Following you is that familiar song, but this time it comes as a low whistle, a simple tune, 3 notes in orders different from one another, quick and jittery. As you turn a corner, all of a sudden it stops. Ahead of you, you hear gentle waves break against a nearby shore. Maya, this is all too familiar for you. Please make me a roll of either your logic or your empathy.
One success.
One success. The walls press in on all sides. They drip moisture, just like the well did all those years ago, reminding you of the creature who found you shortly after you fell, and what the encounter cost you. You feel the fear begin to claw at the back of your mind, but you shove it deep down and are able to persevere.
Does it feel as though the walls are hugging close right now? Or is it just me?
Not really.
No, just a creepy little place we're in. That's about it.
Quite. Okay. Oh dear.
Listen, friends and Astrid, I know we're all feeling, a little shook with the situation, but, let's look at it on the bright side. We're no longer outside, which was spooky as heck. We're inside. We have snacks and Dagmar gestures at the basket of rotten fish. I hear some water. Water's good. I see no reason to panic. All right, let's just press on.
I second that motion. It could be worse, could be a lot worse. So we're gonna just press on in this creepy little location, friends and Astrid. So let's just get this thing going. Let's do it.
Okay.
Good to see you two take some initiative. Please lead on.
In this moment, as you wander the corridors and begin to venture further in, Astrid, what is running through your mind?
Astrid is curious about the relationship between Dagmar's blood and that door. Perhaps there's something not quite adding up there. But more than that, this music, the starting and the stopping, doesn't sit right. It must have some relationship to the caverns of the smuggling caverns that we just went through.
Make me a logic and learning roll, please, Astrid.
One success.
One success. As you ruminate on the problem at hand, you've developed your own internal processes for dealing with such things. The unknown, it is always something that you can decode eventually, and you hope this is of a similar ken. You think that mulling on your past in smuggling, your knowledge of such tunnels and operations, that you may be onto something. Specifically, you know that in the darkest places of the world, smugglers often see things in the darkness that are then dismissed as madness or possession, some sort of clerical problem, something that can be blessed out. They're often wrong, and often some of those smugglers are never seen again.
As Dagmar and Johan take point, Astrid softly, you two keep your eyes open. We still do not know how Alicia has died.
As you power on ahead, Dagmar, you are leading the pack?
Yes. Well, actually, I am, but then I suggest, listen, Johan, you have that big pointy sword, right?
As a matter of fact, I do. Yeah.
You're very brave and strong. So I suggest you point that sword forward and walk on ahead. I'm right behind you.
You know what? You are absolutely right. I got this. Onward!
And as a point of housekeeping, who amongst you has the lanterns?
I have one.
Astrid has one.
I think I would have one too.
Astrid and Dagmar, understood. As you turn the corner, Johan, you see what you see first. Dagmar, you see this shortly after. Johan, it's a little hard to make out at first. With the lantern light being behind you, the shadows are dancing strangely. Specifically, your shadow is dancing strangely. You don't think you're moving like that, but your shadow is. It's performing odd twitchy motions on the ground in front of you, long and stretching like fingers. And you're momentarily distracted by it before you look up and see that you have come into a cavernous space. One with a recognizable layout, you would say. There is a passage leading through it, through the middle, and further into the cavern by way of a door at the back, flanked by rows of benches, pews, facing the far wall. On each wall, a carving has been delicately chipped away out of the stone of a familiar young girl, crowned by ivy that wraps around her arms and legs, entwining in her hair. On the wall closest to you, she has her back to you, her long dress draped around her like a shroud. On either side of you, she faces the back wall and side profile, holding those wildflowers in one hand. And in the other, the hand you haven't seen before, she carefully cradles a heart. Like a fragile creature, her expression enigmatic. And then on the back wall, she is fully turned to face you. She has dropped the wildflowers. Her hands have been lifted, carved in the process of bringing the heart to her mouth. And she has been portrayed in the midst of taking a bite out of it, right down to the wild glint of feral glee in her eyes, and the blood gushing down her chin, staining the front of her dress with viscera, dripping onto the discarded flowers at her feet. In front of her is a stand upon which a book has been left open.
Okay, so what kind of fruit is that? I see this really, taking a bite out of it. Can I I don't know. It looks really good, but also guys, I see my shadow doing some weird electric boogaloo. Is anyone else going through that, or am I just am I tripping because light's a little rough here right now?
Are our shadows doing the same?
As you look down, they are indeed. It seems odd. They are almost making stalking motions. You look down, and they appear to stop moving. You go to look up again, and the twitching resumes, just in the corner of your eye.
Astrid, have you ever seen anything like this in your old age? I mean, you wisefulness of reading? I don't know. I tried.
This could be any number of reasons, but whatever it is, the faster we move through this space, the safer we will be. But
We not look at the walls? I mean, they are awfully tuneful in tale, I believe.
It's the same symbol that was in the chapel.
perhaps a little different.
You could say that. Yeah, that's definitely not fruit.
It's not fruit? Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay.
What is this book?
As you go over to it, you see that indeed it's a almost like a reading stand that you would place a priceless book upon to sort of be able to peruse its pages without having to really pick it up. On this stand, there is a Bible that's been left open. Once again, on Matthew 14, 13, 21, the parable of the bread and fish, but this time something else has been slipped in between the pages.
What? Is this a bookmark?
As you pull it out, Astrid, it's very much not a bookmark, not in the classical sense anyway, although perhaps in functionality right now. The paper is old and yellowing, with letters, words, and test phrases elegantly recorded upon it in what appears to be a phoneticized version of a foreign tongue, next to which is the Swedish translation. The bottom of the page is torn, obscuring the text where the ragged paper blurs the ink, and the page is entitled, "The Tongue of the Siren."
What does it say?
The Tongue of the Siren. Do I recognize this other language?
I will ask you to make me the same roll as before, your logic and learning, but add an additional dice to this pool, please.
Can I help?
You may indeed. Add yet another dice, please, Astrid.
2 successes.
2 successes. Fantastic. Saying the phoneticized words aloud stirs a memory in you of the song you keep hearing. That lilting lullaby. It's the same tongue. More than that, you know that the phoneticized version of the language recorded here is likely not how the tongue itself is written, if it's written at all, ever. Pondering the problem further, you realize that it may have not been a written tongue at all, that it's purely spoken. But as you scan the page of translations, you put together enough to decode what you've been hearing. The siren song that you have been hearing says, "You who gave me the life of the unwilling, you who sacrificed what was not yours to give."
We are
What
we
is
are
it?
trespassing on the land of a siren, of a creature named a siren. And I do not know if it is the cause of the ruin we see here, but I do not think anything good can come of this.
I don't really understand. This a siren? Is that what we've been hearing? The siren?
Yes, I believe it is.
All right. Dagmar wants to go over to is it wall carvings of the girl?
It is indeed. It's very well done as well. These are sort of white marble, very aged creations. They've almost aged to a point where the stone is beginning to look like bone, simply to do the yellowing with age.
All right. I kind of touch the hand of the girl, like one of the carvings. And I would like to look for something, like if there's anything I can see that isn't clear at first sight about these carvings.
Of course. Which carving are you approaching?
I guess I would go over to the spookiest one, the one with the heart.
Okay. Please roll me your observation and your empathy.
All right.
Actually, for this, let's make it your manipulation, shall we?
All right. 2 successes.
2 successes. Well, you step up to the carving, and this figure is so familiar to you, Astrid. You know every plane of her face. You know every ruffle of the gown, the sort of frills that make up the collar. You know the way that her hair curls. And you know that if you follow one of the vines, you can follow it all the way down where it wraps around her arm, down to her wrist like a sleeve, to where the heart was being held in the other carving before she brought it to her mouth. And you notice that on the ring finger of this young woman, there is a slight depression, almost like where a wedding band would be, which has been removed. You run your finger over it, concentrating, and you tilt your thumb ever so slightly. And as you do this, you hear a slight click as it gives way beneath your hand. As this happens, you hear the grinding of fluid gears. You hear something begin to register your presence. And then beside you on the floor, you hear it resonate under one of the floorboards, right by the first pew.
Astrid or
Dagmar, what are you
Dagmar?
doing?
Dagmar, sorry.
Okay. I'm just taking a closer look, and I move over to where I heard the sound under the floor to see if I can maybe lift the tile or look underneath the pew.
Absolutely. You, easy enough, walk over and you see where the floorboard, where it once was flush with the floor, these walls are still made out of the man-made substances before, and the floor is still much this sort of man-made brick. You pull open one of the floorboards where it is no longer flush with the rest of it, and you see that beneath this there is some sort of carving into the floor that has made a rudimentary chest of sorts. It has been lined with dark oak wood nailed into the sides of the ground itself, and then within this small cubby hole there is a chalice, a metal chalice inlaid with red gems, and beside it there is a knife with a leather-bound handle and a long, elegant, cruel-looking blade crusted with some sort of aged, blackened material.
All right, so a chest, a chalice, and a knife. Or is the knife and the chalice in the chest?
The knife and the chalice are in this sort of rudimentary chest-looking thing. You'd say it kind of resembles a coffin in its construction.
All right. Well, I grab the chalice and the knife. Obviously, they're shiny. And I understand that this must be similar to the door that we saw before. Is there anything else near the book? Anything else that this chalice could connect to?
As you sort of spin around looking for anything that could be the answer to what you seek, you do notice something interesting about the way this place has been constructed. Now that you've gotten a better look at it, now that you have found this depression in the wall, in the carving, you see how there is a vein, very similar to that wedding band-like depression, that actually runs from every carving's right hand down to the floor itself, forming a groove in the walls and then in the floor that combine to meet in this cross pattern.
All right. All right. I think this is another blood ritual thing, everyone. I don't know what it does. I'm a little hesitant to find out. But I'm also very curious. And with that, I prick myself in the finger and drop it in the chalice.
Okay. As you drop the speck of your blood into this sort of vessel, the first thing you notice about it is that it is chillingly cold. You've handled metal before, obviously, but this is somehow so very different. It feels like you've picked it up from the middle of just a bank of snow. It is like ice to the touch, to the point where it causes your fingers to ache. It's almost painful. But as you drip your blood into the chalice, you see it hit the bottom and splatter, and you hear it almost react. Nothing really happens, but you hear a small hiss, and you see the rubies around the edge of the chalice begin to sort of grow warm under your touch.
Well, this is interesting. Oh, please don't tell me it needs more.
What is it, Dagmar? More of what?
Well, I show Maya the chalice, and I think it's thirsty.
Thirsty?
Yeah. Thirsty
quaint.
for blood. Oh, very. I would call it quaint.
How much more do you think it thirsts?
Well, I sure don't hope it needs to be filled to the brim.
Let us perhaps avoid filling it with any more blood for now. We do not know what it does. The door we did. This, unless it fits into the door.
Do you see a way out, Astrid?
The door?
I mean,
Right
we
there.
came in here, but
There is a door out to
Okay.
the rest of the tunnels.
Okay.
May I retrace Dagmar's steps? From observing from the shadows, I would love to almost retrace exactly how Dagmar discovered these curious items.
Of course. Roll me your empathy and observation, please, Maya.
Two successes.
My, doing awfully well tonight, aren't we? As you walk the perimeter of this place, this strange hall in which you found yourself, Maya, you feel something resonating in the air. You feel something like ozone on your tongue. Something like a brewing lightning storm. It's intoxicating. There's so much of it. There's so much power here. But it's dormant. It's waiting. And as you circle the room, you find on every other carving, there is this depression, this similar sort of depression, this hole in every single one. You also notice that as you look over at where Dagmar is holding the chalice, you see the knife in her hand, you see the chalice in the other, you see the rubies almost glowing, emanating this power. And you get the feeling that perhaps power isn't just what's needed, perhaps intent is what's needed, perhaps why this room is waiting is that the right intention has not met yet.
How curious. Do you feel that, my friends? Do you feel that in the air? Almost on the tip of your tongue. There is something in here. Something curious. Indeed.
Is it a thing waiting of danger?
I'd say more like a curious decision to be made here. But not maybe one we think of. Maybe something slightly different, perhaps. Look upon the walls. And look upon the chalice and the knife. Something is more here, more than meets the eye. But as to what is the path taking us, I'm not quite sure, if I am honest. But there is something brewing. Something brewing indeed.
Dagmar goes over to the carvings and tries to put her bloody finger on the indentation of one of the other carvings and see if that does anything else.
Of course. Which one are you proceeding to next?
The one to the left of the bloody one. I don't know which one that is, but
Mm-hmm. As you do so, you once again begin to hear these underground wheels and gears begin to turn. You hear something respond to you. And then you see yet another floorboard pop open.
All right, I rush over and, okay, I need to know what this is.
As you lift it up, you see that inside there are robes. As you take them out and sort of look at them, they're a sort of a thick black cotton robe, very well made. There are about, you would say, 3 of them. There is also, at the very bottom, a much, much smaller one.
Johan, why don't you try to poke a few of these? Let's see what happens then. The indentations on the
I can poke them, but before I do, can I have one of those sick robes? Those look really, really cool, actually. Can I put one on?
I grab one and I throw it at him, and I
Juice.
look at another one. I don't put it on just yet.
Johan, please make me a roll of your logic or your empathy, whichever you choose.
All right. Two successes.
Fantastic. You blink as you feel this thick wool encompass your form. You feel your arms equip into it, and you look down and you see that it's exactly your size. It fits perfectly, and it's very comfortable. But then you blink again and you feel vertigo. Something unpleasant trying to invade your mind, something pushing back against you, but you push back against it with some success. It still shows you something, but it shows you something it didn't intend for you to see. You're dressed in an old coat and scarf, pulled close against the cold. You look up into the kindly face of an older man with salt and pepper hair. He's wearing a curious necklace depicting a young woman crowned in vines. You are giving him your wrist, around which he gently fastens a steel bracelet with an embossed sigil on it of a wheel with 3 spokes. You return his smile and go to thank him. And then in another blink, he is gone. And you're back in the tunnel, left only with this sense of warmth at your very core, a sense of home.
Johan, are you all right?
Did something happen?
So I don't think these robes are regular robes. I just saw a really weird old man, and he gave me something, and there were like 3 spokes that on my wrist. That I don't know what just happened, but this robe is super comfy, by the way. Holy shit! But either way, yeah, old man. It was really, really weird. I mean, I'm good now. I'm back, but.
What did he look like?
It was just an old man. I don't know. They're just like, once you get to a certain age, you all kind of look the same, right? So just, I mean, try the robe. Like you might be able to go through it too.
All right.
That is a terrible idea, Johan.
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, maybe you'll be fine, you know?
Dagmar throws on the rope, like.
You throw on this thick robe, and once again, it's so comfortable. It's heavy and warm, and you feel almost like it's familiar. And as that thought crosses your mind, I'm going to need you to make a logic or an empathy roll of whatever your choice.
That'll be empathy.
Nothing. As you put on this robe, once again, you feel a push at the back of your mind, just almost at the core of your being. You feel it sort of curiously begin to dig. And then you blink and you're not where you were at all. In front of you looms a horrible beast with jagged teeth and sharp talons, a wide smile cracking its face in half as it grabs your wrist and clasps a steel band tight around it, embossed with the sigil of a wheel with 3 spokes. You go to scream, hearing this roaring creature, hearing it laugh. You feel your skin begin to burn and boil, and then you blink, and you awake back into yourself, surrounded by your friends. The band is gone, but you can still feel that burning.
That was horrible.
Pretty weird, right?
Why would you have me do that?
Well, listen, I mean, I couldn't really explain it. It's one of those things you got to kind of like be there for. It wasn't great, but like, what did you see?
A monster. It hurt me. I was trying. It put a band. It was one of those spokes, a metal clasp with those things we saw on the chest. It was like that bracelet. And she takes off the cloak.
Creature?
What do you think it means?
I don't know.
Dagmar, what did it look like?
It was horrible. It had talons. It had this wide smile. It burned. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I can still feel it.
Weird. I mean, the old man that I saw too, he was pretty creepy. Like, he made my skin kind of crawl a little bit too. So like, I mean, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but like, it's kind of like ballparky. I'm gonna go touch a thingy now. So let's go touch the one thing that you didn't touch across the room.
Okay. You have 2 more carvings left to you. You have the mirror image of the one Dagmar just pressed, and you have the back wall where the carving has her back to you.
I'm gonna go to the mirror side.
You're going to the mirror image. Okay. You go over, and mirroring Dagmar's work before, you can clearly see where this band has a odd depression in the middle, and you run your finger across it and press down. And once again, you hear the resonating whirs and click. It's very close. It's right by your foot.
There's a thing over here, guys. You want to come check this out?
Are you opening it?
Yes, I'm gonna open it, and everyone's kind of coming up to me as I open it.
Sure. As you sort of lift the floorboard, you once again see this sort of odd coffin-like space with sort of nails hammering it into the side of wherever this place is. You think it's probably the bedrock. And you see that within this space, whereas before there was the chalice and the knife and then the robes, here there are stacks of books. They are leather-bound, very, very heavy tomes, all stacked one on top of the other. And there are 3 volumes in total with no identification on the covers.
So, as I'm sure you guys probably can imagine, reading is not my thing, but Astrid, you ever read these things before?
You have to bring them as we get to the door. And Astrid is like eyeing them from where she is, but is staying near the exit to the room.
I grab one and I flip it open just to see what it's about.
Okay. Dagmar, have you studied any languages in your time in this world?
Dagmar knows several languages, yes.
What would you have studied previously?
She would know Dutch, German, French, and Swedish, and English, actually.
You would recognize this, I would say. You'd recognize the language. It's close enough to the tongues that you yourself have known, both in the speaking sense and in the literary sense. But you don't particularly know what it says. You know it's Latin. And you know that there are, as you leaf through it, that this is done in very elegant calligraphy, very, very high quality inks. The paper is almost thick, parchment-esque paper, sort of frayed at the edges where the books have been sort of left to their own devices over time. But other than that, very, very well preserved. These sort of Latin scribblings contain the odd diagram of something sort of circular with a small point of what seems to be light, sort of broadcasting towards an orb. And then as you reach the third tome, you notice that the hand these are written in go from elegant and sophisticated and very measured, very equidistant of each other, to the very last tome where it becomes more erratic. And about halfway through this last tome, the tongue seems to switch completely.
To what?
You know, you're not sure, but it does look oddly like the tongue on that piece of paper that Astrid picked up very recently.
All right. I stack the books and I walk over to Astrid and say, it's Latin and it looks like that paper you got, and I drop it in her arms and immediately walk over to the last wall carving to touch the tiny ring.
Okay. As the final door once again gives way under your hand and you see the floorboard pop up and go to pry it open, you immediately smell, as it pops, unlike before where it was sort of a musty sense of sort of old wood, sort of moistened over time with sort of the seawater that seems to permeate this place. This smells fresh, almost like a pine forest in the depths of autumn. It's very evident. It almost hits you quite startlingly, but it's not unpleasant, it's just strong. And as you open it and look down into this coffin-like interior, you see inside what looks to be like a heart. It looks almost exactly like the carvings, except it's made entirely of bracken and briar, bits of flora, and it has tiny flowering plants that climb around it.
I carefully grab it and I smell it just to make sure that it's like just flora.
It smells sweet. It almost smells like walking past blooming honeysuckle in the middle of spring.
Well, I think we stumbled upon a ritual. The question is, for what?
Nothing
You gonna
we
bite
want
it?
to take part in.
Well, lucky
should-
no one is asking you to, Astrid. All right. I think perhaps if we combine all of this somehow, something will happen? The question is how. We have robes that are spooky as heck. And what there's a small robe. I don't know if we're all supposed to wear it or what is that small robe for? A dog? I don't even know. I already dropped blood in the chalice.
Dagmar, let me spell this out for you clearly. Blood sacrifices were made here. That robe likely belonged to a child who was killed. We do not want any part in this ritual.
My blood is already in this ritual. I dropped it in the chalice.
Yes, you certainly did.
And I didn't see you complain when I opened the door for you. So,
The door
Let's
did not
see.
have child sacrifice written on it.
yeah, because that changes things. Blood is blood, my friend. Anyway, does anybody, Maya, do you know anything about rituals like this? Or Astrid, for that matter. If you do, I know you don't like it, but do you know anything?
I know that not all blood is blood. And you have just read on this piece of paper, there's a difference between the blood of the willing and the unwilling.
All right.
So not all blood is the same.
I'm not about to take anyone's blood against their will. I just want to know what's going on here.
Could I perhaps be ominously looking upon the statues, assessing what's going on, almost like a fly on the wall, watching everybody almost dashing around trying to figure these out? Could I perhaps be going back within my mind, wondering if I have at all experienced something like this? After all, I tend to throw sticks together and hope that something may happen. This feels awfully familiar to me. Although I don't believe I've ever practiced in blood, but maybe once perhaps I've read upon it?
I think you may have done. I think you are familiar with all kinds of practices, and I think in your adventures around the Mythic North, you have seen all kinds of rituals and rites that people tend to try in order to appease what they think is a higher power. I think for this, I will ask you to make an empathy and observation roll, as you are calling upon forces that are familiar and yet oh so alien.
Managed to get one success. It appears the universe is on our side tonight.
It appears so. As you take a look around each of these carvings, the first thing that you realize is that this is not a normal ritual site. This is not the standard in the Mythic North. Usually, those who do rituals and rites to appease Vaesen have very little to work with. Usually those who find themselves confronting such creatures are those who are in a place to see them. And usually this is in rural farmland areas or in areas that have undergone significant dilapidation, areas that need a bit of additional help, maybe from a creature who feels either like they can take advantage of the situation or like they could be of assistance. This seems to you, this screams, instead of someone trying to appease a Vaesen, this screams someone is trying to contact one, someone is trying to give something up to one. This is a site of deal making. This is a site of business, almost. And you get that sense that the intent you were looking for earlier is one of transactional nature. You also know that very often those willing to make such deals often have the security to believe that they have nothing left to lose.
Dagmar. I may have trundled upon my mind, and this is not a ritual I am that much familiar with, although, despite I do not practice this, but there are those out there that do. And this is how you would say a bargain has been dealt here. Something not quite the way that the rituals tend to be made. In my experience from observing through my travels is that usually when rituals are created, they are normally to source contact, almost as goodwill, or something like that, you know? Whereas this feels like something was bought. Something wasn't quite so giving. Something must have been almost as if somebody was at their wit's end and needed this ritual. But I cannot quite place how or why. But that small rope must, as Astrid just said, maybe somebody has sacrificed something great towards them. in order to contact something not quite of one of our beings.
Any idea what?
I don't believe it's to appease a god. I feel like this is more almost like a call for one of the creatures that we often study and have crossed upon. After all, do you not taste that almost like after that midwinter's lightning bolt upon the mountains? Do you not taste that upon your tongue? It's almost like that, tingly. There is something within these corridors, within these rooms, and we must for sure figure out what it is, who they may be, and hope they will give us our answers towards our path onwards.
So what you're saying is we should do this ritual.
Do you not think maybe, at this point I feel like Maya's digging through the muck within the basket that we have peculiarly decided to bring upon us, and takes out that ring that we've picked up from earlier. Almost that little leafy ring, almost that botanical little ring. Perhaps whatever this ritual is doing, maybe it's the same as whomever created this. Perhaps. I mean, if we look upon the walls, it's like nature's invading. So there's something greater here, more than blood, possibly.
Are the leaves of the heart, the floral heart, are they similar to the leaves of the ring?
Interestingly, no. The ring seems to be the leaves of a water lily, whereas the briar heart that you hold in your hand, Dagmar, it seems as you turn it over and look over at the carving to match up almost perfectly with what those vines are, and you realize that that's poison ivy. And yet it's not harming you at all. You don't feel any sort of rash coming up. Nothing of the sort.
And there were little flowers on it, right?
There were.
I pick one of the flowers off. Nothing happens with it, I'm assuming.
It's a small sort of red flower, almost dark crimson blood red. Very small, almost like it's just sprouted up from a bud. And as you pluck it, it just remains in your palm, very much corporeal, but it doesn't seem to react.
Dagmar looks up at the plaque of the woman eating the heart, says cheers, and plops the flower in her mouth and eats it.
All right. As you do this, you feel a sort of fizz in your tongue. There's almost a spice to it. It's quite pleasant, actually. Almost, there are spice notes to it that almost taste like a hot chocolate, sort of, very lightly, but quite nice. And it's as you're sort of ruminating on the taste of it, I'm going to need you to make me either a logic or an empathy roll of your choice.
That's going to be empathy.
Understood.
All right. One success.
As you feel the petals of this flower, you feel the pollen of it. It's granular, almost like sugar, as it dissolves on your tongue, and you swallow it down. Again, it's quite pleasant, but it's as you sort of go to look back up at the carving that once again you're not exactly where you were. It's a sort of liminal space. It's the same room, but not quite. And in front of you is a figure. A very familiar figure. About 6'4", salt and pepper hair, well dressed. You know exactly who this is. And yet he won't turn around to look at you.
Denzel?
As you say his name, he turns around. Dagmar. And in that moment, you blink, and the room returns to how it was before.
Whoa.
Dagmar?
Yeah?
Did you go on a journey?
Yeah, you could say that. I think I just saw an old friend. Well, Johan, the man you saw, was he like really well dressed? Like, fancy clothing?
I mean,
like grayish hair, but not fully.
For sure the grayish hair, very old, yes. Fancy? I mean, have you seen this robe? I mean, it wasn't quite up to code with my robe, but it was all right. It wasn't too bad, yeah. But for sure old, though. For sure old.
Did he say anything to you?
No, but I don't remember. But I think he gave me that really cool wristband with the 3 spokes on it. That was about it.
That's the same thing I got when I put on the rope, but that's not what happened now. Nothing much happened. I just saw someone. I think we need to do this ritual. This apparently wasn't it, but we need to do whatever this is. That we need to figure this out.
While they have been doing all this with these books in hand, and her background, not just as a scholar, but what she left behind, Astrid does read through the Latin and also sees if she can piece together the siren language.
I will say that due to your stunning amount of successes to decode the song prior, you do not need a roll to decipher the siren song in the latter half of this book. The Latin you also are quite familiar with, I would say. In the very beginning tome, it talks of how to produce light, how to illuminate the oceans, how to produce safety on an island that needs to be protected from something in the deep. It talks of how to angle lenses. It talks of how to project certain types of light creation. It talks of the use of gas to set a flame large enough that could be projected through such lenses, angled just so, in order to contact either the mainland or something else entirely. The second tome talks of the successes they've had. It talks of journeying to Europe to meet with various inventors and great minds. It talks of an understanding that was reached between them, that if we can do this, if we can light up the dark places in the world, then maybe we can control the shadows. Perhaps we can secure what our forefathers could only pray worked. Perhaps we can make this a sure success every time. Not just for us, but for the country. And then the third book, it talks of success with the light. But now, as it goes into this different tongue, you see it talk of shadow as well, and that whilst the light is bright and the light is good and the light reaches far, the shadows are darker now, the shadows are deeper. And something in them is hungry. Something in them needs feeding. It talks of a deal. And it talks of, at the very end of this third tome, how one would make this deal happen. It speaks of a sacrifice needing to be made. And all components brought together to the honor of the bloodline.
Is it clearly referring to a sacrifice of life? Or
Yes.
is it vague? Dagmar, you may wish to reconsider this ritual if you know that it requires your life.
I mean, my life, a life. I'm not sure if it even matters.
I think it
However,
very much
what does-
does.
I mean, if you wish to throw away life equally, then I guess. But what does it say? What specifically? Like, what? Is this unavoidable?
I will repeat, there is a door right there we can walk through. We can avoid all of this right now.
But like, I'm just saying, what would a fish do? Or something else? And
What?
you know, or does it have to be the life of whoever is doing the ritual?
Maya, you have some insight.
Well, out of curiosity upon the body we have not long passed, did you not notice how that ring sat upon her finger, and how the moment we took it away, she turned to dust? Perhaps this ring might be a way to bypass, or possibly cheat out of a bargain, potentially. However, I might agree with Astrid about maybe we should venture a fourth and return upon ourselves. After all, we do not know what this ritual may give in return for a life.
So we should take a vote. Yeah, I like that. You know, all in favor of the door, raise your hand. Yeah, maybe. Because this is getting weird.
Starts walking toward Dagmar, raises their hand as she does so, and getting to Dagmar, reaches out and tugs out her pendant that's around her neck, and leans in close and whispers, "I do not mean a life, I mean your life."
I snap the necklace back and stick it down my shirt again. And I look at Astrid and I say, "We'll talk later about this." And I start walking for the door. But I take the chalice and, like, I take the items that I can carry with me.
All right, so you are taking the chalice, the knife, the heart.
Yeah, I have like a pouch. I try to stuff as much as I can in there.
Are you also taking the robes?
Yes, one of them.
One of them.
I
Which one?
think Johan is still wearing the other one.
Absolutely.
There were 3 ropes and a small one, right?
Correct.
The third one that I haven't put on.
The third one. All right. You put it into your pack. Easy enough. And the 4 of you begin to move once again. Stepping out of this church leads you back into man-made passages. This time, the brick and mortar seems smaller, as though constricting, ready to entomb you. But even the hardest structures of man are no match for nature and time. You take a step forward and you feel your shoe sole splash into a puddle. Casting the lantern forward as far as the light will reach reveals that ahead, a portion of the tunnel has collapsed. The floor has sunk away into a black pool of still water before forded by a rickety steel bridge that is weeping rust. The rocks stick up from the water below, jagged and broken in places, and there are scratch markings marring the walls. Mingled with these deep gouges are erratic patterns of something dark spattered in sudden bursts across the rock. As you approach the bridge, the clattering of metal chains catches your attention. Riveted to the side of the bridge are a set of chains that hang down over it, ending in manacles that almost touch the surface of the water below.
I pull up like the manacles to take a look at them.
As you pull them up, the clinking and clanging of the metal seems to reverberate around the walls here, but you've managed to successfully sort of catching sight of your reflection in the pool below. As you take a look at the manacle, there is some red hair still stuck in the clasp of it. The locks you can see have been scratched and damaged.
Is it the same type of red hair as Alice's?
Very much so.
How did she end up where we found her? If she was in these... Everyone, I think Alice was in these chains.
Could ever be going on here? How curious and peculiar. I feel like at this point my eyes just glancing upon the waters, almost besotted by what could have happened here. Almost assessing the situation before we go onwards, or whatever the group may decide.
Make me a logic and empathy roll, Maya.
I have managed to get 3 successes.
3. That is very impressive indeed. As you cast your eye over this mirror-like pool, you, like Dagmar, see yourself dance in the water, almost like you're performing a sort of strange ritual that you're not familiar with the emotions of it, but somehow you will understand them. There is a deep and intrinsic feeling here. Whilst before, in that room that you were just in, there was a sense of transactional power. Here, there is simply a feeling of old nature. Something waiting. Something growing. Something that is biding its time, and then below that, something angry, something disappointed and grief-stricken, something that is angry at somebody who used that room, and angry at what was given in those manacles. Whatever was given to whatever force is here, they are not pleased about it.
Do you feel that chill beneath your spine? Do you see the way the water reflects? I feel almost a sense of grief amongst these walls. Do you not feel that, friends? Surely you can hear that. It's almost beyond our time, at least, but how... There is something beneath our toes and our spines and our toes and spines. Surely you feel that this time, friends. Surely this room is... the energy. It is dancing.
Is there anything in the room other than the manacles that I could like dangle in the water? Like a stick or something long enough to like drop?
Not really. It seems like this room, this area, whilst there is the tunnel that leads from where you came from and towards deeper into the caverns proper, there isn't really anything else here apart from the bridge fording this sort of open space.
And the part that caved in, like, we still have a pathway out?
You do indeed. It seems that the cave-in has simply revealed the pool below, and that whoever utilized this space has found a way to use it.
All right. I mean, I think what's been sacrificed was Alice.
Indeed. At least, most recently. Which means, however she ended up there, in the tunnel where we found her, either what took her, brought her there, or the one who gave her over. Either way, we are not alone here.
I feel whatever it may be, due to Alice's demise now that she is sleeping, I feel like whatever that may be lurking beneath the waters was not happy. There is something peculiar going on here, and I believe it is graver than ourselves. However, I feel as though we should go deeper and discover the exact story our path is and showing upon us. And with this, I feel like Maya's ever so lightly tiptoeing towards the bridge, almost to wonder. Curiously, almost. Not quite fully wait, but just testing with her toes, hoping. It hasn't aged that badly.
Keep hold of the rail.
The rail?
If not, you can fall in the water. And I don't want you to have to deal with whatever must be down there.
But do you not feel like you float upon your toes? Do your toes not carry you? Sure, a railing is there, yes, but do we need such thing? And it was this, Maya's just playfully playing with the rail, almost unsure of whether to take the advice. Almost wanting to believe her toes may find her way across this bridge.
As you do so, you begin to sort of scamper your way lightly across the bridge. You hear in the corners of your vision, just you hear it very far away. Only you can hear this too. The rest of you, you're not sure why Maya suddenly sort of tilts her head as if in question, but there's a whistle. It's that same whistle again, but this time it seems to be sort of playfully mimicking your steps as you walk.
Huh. How fun. I feel as though something is glancing upon our journey, you know. And with this, Maya's probably twirling in her head this thought that, although yes, we are trespassing upon these lands, that maybe this whistle that has been following maybe is something more than she originally thought, something a bit more substance, so to speak, than what she initially felt when she first heard this whistle. But with this, she turns around back to her friends and kind of almost dances her fingers to show that things aren't so bad as we once thought. Sure, there may be corpses, but just a little tickle in the air. Come with.
Is she across the bridge?
She is, standing on the other side and perfectly fine.
All right, then do give whatever's watching us my best, I guess. And Dagmar carefully, holding on to, not as graciously crosses the bridge as well, or tries to.
You cross the bridge and you alight on the other side.
Johan, after you.
Well, the elderly should go first. I'll watch the rear to make sure nothing comes up behind us.
I would hate to slow you down.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, what if something comes up? What are you gonna do, Grandma? You're gonna just throw a bag at him or something, or a book? Yes, you go on ahead. I got this.
You flatter me.
Always.
And Astrid crosses.
Second verse, same as the first. Astrid, you approach the other side perfectly fine. Johan, O most valiant defender, are you joining them?
Absolutely. Bringing up the rear, guys.
How brave. You cross the bridge, and I believe you are continuing?
Mm-hmm.
All right. As you keep going deeper into these caverns, you once again sort of enter the man-made structures, and you're making your way down. As a quiet moment falls, you notice that alongside the noise of far-off waves, there's another sound. Shuffling. Feet dragging themselves across the stone. Slow, labored, unhurried. The closeness of the stone walls makes it hard to discern from which direction, but they're getting closer. And with that, we'll take our break. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back ever so shortly. Call it a quick 10 minutes. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again very soon. These children move along here in the dark. They shuffle forward, apprehensive, holding lanterns high in order to chase the shadows away. Something has been following them, watching them. Something that Maya danced with on the bridge. But as something else shuffles behind them, footsteps in the dark, footsteps from all directions, the presence retreats back into the water and fades. The footsteps, however, do not. The shuffling grows louder until the source reveals itself. Stumbling along the corridor, held aloft as though by some sort of unseen strings, the corpse of Alice drags her feet along the ground. Her head has been pulled upright, but her eyes register nothing as she moves towards you, the desiccated flesh sloughing off of her bones with every step. And with that, we are going to be drawing our initiative for the first time this story. Maya, you, my dear, have an initiative of 6.
Okay.
Dagmar, you have an initiative of 8. Johan, let's see what you get. Oh dear, that's a 10. It seems you're a little caught off guard. Astrid. Oh, a 1. Now, folks, for those unfamiliar, in this system, the closer to 1 you are in your initiative, the better. I have drawn for Alice. We will begin with Astrid. Astrid, you see this form moving its way towards you. Slow, unhurried, but it's coming. What do you do?
Dagmar, Johan. Astrid gets everyone's attention and moves backward away from this corpse.
Now,
Yes.
in this world of Vaesen, you may take a fast action and a slow action. You may use your fast action to back up away from this entity. Would you like to use your slow action to do anything at all?
Looking at the possibilities and what Astrid would do, Astrid is going to survey the situation and try to get a bearing on our standing, our position.
All right. For this, I will have you make a roll for me of your logic and your vigilance.
2 successes.
2 successes is fantastic. You back away from this creature, this entity, and you dart your eyes around looking for something, anything that can help you. You notice that whilst this corpse, this puppeted, decaying body is moving, it is not moving under its own power. There is something else moving it. And you think that if you can somehow cut the strings, if you can somehow disrupt whatever is holding this body aloft, that you will be able to gain the upper hand. All right, we will move on. This creature, Alice, what was Alice, shambles forward. She moves in a jerky manner, head moving from side to side as though trying to gain traction on something, as though her very skull is being handled by gigantic hands that snap her neck from one side to the other. Jerkily, it looks from face to face until it lands on Dagmar. It makes eye contact with you directly and begins unhurriedly moving in your direction. It raises a hand as though to go for your throat. It will be using its action to try and grab you. You may use your fast action to try and get out of the way before it can do so.
I shall.
Please roll me your precision. Let's see here.
Just precision?
Your precision, actually let's go with physique and agility, please.
Physique and agility, all right. Nothing.
Nothing. I see. This creature's hands reach out to grasp you. As it does so, your quick movements and its lack of control over its appendages seem to work in your favor. Although you dart to one side and it feints to the other, it's quick, but it's not quick enough. Its wrist seems to snap and almost dislocate as it reaches for you, and it misses. We will move on. Maya, what would you like to do?
Oh dear. Well, you see, I'm not quite an aggressive little being. I feel like taking the movements of Astrid, viewing the backing up as quite a good option at this present time to gain more time, to almost peer into the shadows, hoping to find something, some more extra details that may assess about what's going on here. Because this is far from home, this is.
I will ask you to make a roll of your empathy and observation, Maya.
Two successes.
2 successes. Seeing where Astrid is looking, seeing just above Alice's head where it looks like she is being maneuvered by forces unseen, you see something else there. You see the puppeteer, a dark, tall, looming shadow. And like Astrid, you see these tendrils above Alice's head, and you think that if you disrupt those, then perhaps you can end the nightmare. For whoever would like to take an action regarding this information next, you will gain 2 additional dice from Maya and Astrid's help. Is that all you would like to do, Maya?
Yes.
Understood. Dagmar.
So can I make this check and still do an action?
You may use your fast action to take some sort of defensive maneuver, or to move, or to sheath or unsheath a weapon. You may use your fast action to do something that requires a roll.
All right. I would like to take a swipe, with the knife that Dagmar has, but so I can't have the same observation that Astrid and Maya did at the same turn.
Astrid and Maya, if you would like to make the information that you have beheld known to the group, you are more than willing to do so. You are more than allowed.
Of course. I would like to be yelling at everybody to look above the being that is tenderly, well, not so tenderly, I suppose, walking towards us at quite a specific pace, to look above Alice's head, almost jeering out into the shadows. That's our answer. This is how we can pass this horrific situation we've stumbled upon.
Okay. Dagmar, you go to slash out with the knife?
I would like to spin to the back of Alice and take a big slash at right above.
Understood. Please roll me your physique and your close combat.
Nope.
Understood. As you lash out, you can see where Maya and Astrid have made you aware of these almost iridescent looking strings, like chicken wire. But they are hard to comprehend where they exactly are. And as you swing wide as whatever is moving these strings jerks them forward and moves the body ever so slightly out of your reach. Behind you, on the nape of your neck, you feel a cold, chilling breath that snakes its way down your spine. Johan, what would you like to do?
All right. As Dagmar is working on that and went for the swing, I'm going to follow up right behind from the rear and try to catch it off guard, and going for the same thing that she was trying to swing at before with the information from Maya.
Understood. Same roll from you then, please. Your physique and your close combat.
All right. One success.
One success. You slash out and you hit. You feel resistance as your sword connects with something iridescent yet oh so corporeal. You hear a voice cry out in rage, a wordless primal howl. Dagmar, I need you to make an empathy and observation test, please.
All right. Empathy. All right. Nothing.
You feel mournful. Suddenly you feel a deep grief that is not your own. Regret for something that was agreed to, that turned whatever creature is behind this into a monster. The sheer weight of the emotions behind it roots you to the spot, and I need you to take the hopeless condition.
All right.
All right. Astrid, what would you like to do?
Dagmar and Johan fall forward to work at severing these strings. Astrid looks at what she has in her possession and also jumps forward and past what was Alice and shines the lantern she has as much as she can up where she saw the strings being held to try to perhaps blind, perhaps use some of that information from that book. Perhaps the light has some power here.
Very good. Please make me a roll of your logic and your vigilance.
2 successes.
Very good. As you shine this light up in a bold motion towards this creature, you can see the outline of it behind Alice's body. It is huge. It is hulking. It scrapes the very top of this cavern, humanoid, yet not twisted and elongated. Feral. The corpse loses all ability to keep itself standing as it sways on its feet, and this creature backs away from the light with a hiss. A snarl rips from somewhere, unlike a sound that a human throat should be able to make, but it doesn't come from Alice. It comes from this retreating shadow. And as it does so, in one final act of defiance, the strings lunge again, and the corpse lunges forward towards Johan. Johan, I will need you to make a roll for me of your physique and your agility.
All right. Two successes.
2 successes. As this corpse is thrown towards you, you manage to dodge to the side, deftly maneuvering out of the way as it collapses to the floor. All of you watch as Alice falls to the ground in a crumpled pile of bones and flesh, and something else is standing in her place, as though having sloughed off an outfit. His clothing, threadbare and moth-eaten, is ripped and marred by multiple lacerations that have ripped the skin underneath to shreds. There is a gaping hole in his chest and abdomen through which you can see jagged ribs that contain no heart, no lungs, no stomach, no innards at all. And then he opens his mouth and his voice is a jagged, broken scream. Why should you escape our fate? Why not me? Why me? This creature is talking directly to you, Dagmar. And it's as you see this entity standing there, you notice that he is translucent. He isn't all there. And in that moment, you know exactly what he is. He is a revenant, and he will not rest until he is made to. What would you like to do?
Well, first of all, does my hopeless condition affect my combat?
No.
Okay. I think Dagmar freezes on the spot and just quietly whispers to everyone it's a revenant. And I think Dagmar doesn't know that Dagmar freezes.
Understandable. Maya, what would you like to do?
I would like to ask the Revenant a bit more about what is it asking for? What is it wanting with Dagmar? Like, and try and understand a bit more about what this creature may want. through tendrils and ways, I'm trying to make communication with this creature and hopefully restore this in a less barbaric way.
As you begin to step forward, we will drop out of active combat as this creature is not actively attacking you. What would you like to say to it?
I would like to first off greet it, almost with this light little bow, and ask it, how can we help?
The entity, in the form of a young man, he looks no older than 18, takes a step towards you. It looks away from you, Dagmar, and looks towards Maya. You see the shadows coalesce and draw together behind it. And he says, "Give me peace, or give me your lives. I do not care which. I am so tired."
How, if I may ask, what is this peace that would bring your heart warmth? For we would like to carry on our path, preferably with our lives.
He takes a step towards you, Maya, and then another, and then he seems to blur and become mist, fading out of existence, fading from view, and then once again, behind you, directly behind you, he coalesces again, and he just stands there. You feel his breath on the nape of your neck, a cold, chilling, grave breath. It smells of dirt and age and rot. But you hear a deep grief and sorrow in his voice as he says, "I met my end before my time. I thought I was helping. He told me I would save people. He told me my sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. He lied. It wasn't, it should have been it shouldn't have been me. Why was it me?" He looks over at Dagmar. "And then they took someone else. And another. But not you. Not anyone like you. Someone they shouldn't have taken. And now I am here. And my body is still here. I have not been laid to rest, and I am restless, I wander. Let me rest. Please."
Will you take us to your body?
Yes. Can I trust you?
Yes. We will do what needs to be done.
I can lay you to rest. Yes.
He steps around the side of Maya and almost examines your face closely for a second. And then his gaze is drawn to the lack of eye that you display on your face. And he tilts his head and he says, "Oh, I see I am not the only sacrificial lamb who walks these halls tonight."
You and I are a little bit more alike than you may think, dear spirit. Please let us help.
Could, Maya, since you're heading this up, please roll me your empathy and your inspiration. With a dice of success, let's say an additional dice from Astrid.
Okie dokie. 2 successes.
With that, he sort of takes a tentative step back and he says, "Danik. My name is Danik Larson. this way. And he moves slowly around you all. You notice as he's moving that his feet never quite touch the ground. They're always ever so slightly above it, by just a few centimeters. They seem to be walking on shadow itself as he leads you forward through the tunnels. Eventually, you come to a man-made brick tunnel wall that gives way to rough cobble. You hear the sound of a gently whispering tide. As you near this, your feet begin to make more noise as you walk. Pebbles crunch beneath your shoes. Then the lamplight reveals what's ahead. The tunnel here winds past a beach, the path forming a pavement besides which is a stretch of pearlescent white stone meeting the waves that lap against it. Some of the pebbles are oddly shaped, longer and more yellowed by age than the rest of the beach, but somehow so fitting amongst their surroundings that it takes a while to realize that what you're actually looking at is human bone. Femurs, arm bones, ribs, spine. Some of it is still attached, still vaguely in the right place, but for the most part they form scattered and formless detritus. And Danik walks to the center of this beach and looks down at the myriad bodies and then looks forlornly back up at you all.
There has been much loss here, hasn't there? So many sleeping. So many resting. Danik, are you able to show us specifically where your bones lie? Are they amongst all these others who are here?
Yes, I do not know which vessel is mine. They ended up here. They washed up here. But she didn't. She got away because she wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't supposed to be given. The rest of us thought we were helping. But he tried to give her without her consent. And he didn't like that. So the rest of us are here, but she is not.
We had better get to work, then?
I believe so. Danik, upon your short wander upon this earth, had you any curious tumbles? Those that may weather your bones prior?
Yes. I was careless, I think, in life. I can't quite remember. It wasn't even that long ago. It just feels like it was. I think there was one time I remember a pain in my leg. I remember it breaking. I remember a snapping. I remember a tumble and an agony that followed. I remember there was a scar afterwards.
Okay. That lessens the load slightly for us. Astrid, we are definitely looking for bones that may be bumped and scratched. Preferably the leg. This may help us figuring out their remains.
As he begins to describe the bone breaking, the pain, Astrid is already searching through the bodies for those telltale signs.
All right. Please make me a roll of your logic and your medicine, Astrid, with an additional dice for Danik's help.
4 successes.
Woof. Very impressive. You begin to look through these bones, these remnants of life, and it is very much how Danik described it. They are little more than vessels now. Like seeing a discarded jug in a museum. You knew that once it had purpose, but now it seems little more than formless. However, as you search through them, you eventually find one skeleton, slightly smaller than the rest. And as you look over, you do notice that Danik is rather short, perhaps 5'3". You think that perhaps this is the correct one, and you look down, and you see indeed there on the lower femur bone, there is a divot, a dent in the right leg.
I believe I have found it, and looking around, looks for a patch of perhaps softer soil, and lifts up the remains and carries it there.
As you do so, Danik follows you, very close at hand. He seems apprehensive, wary, but hopeful as you bring his body over and you lay it down on a relatively clear patch of earth.
Johan, would you help us dig?
Absolutely, I got this.
Okay, Johan, what are you using to dig here?
I don't think I have a lot on me. I'm not gonna lie. We're on not very tough terrain, so I guess I'm gonna do a little mix of sword chiseling, and then I'm gonna kind of like do a little diggy situation here. But I wish I had a shovel. That'd be nice.
All right. It takes you perhaps the better part of 10 minutes, but eventually you clear sort of enough to make a sort of shallow hole in this ground.
Could perhaps my cooking pot help? As a makeshift shovel, I mean, unfortunately, would mean whatever I may cook upon it might need a little wash. But could that suffice?
I mean, why not? Worth a shot, right?
Well, it's your dinner that may be iffy.
All right. Your task becomes exponentially easier after that, sort of ladling the dirt and the pebbled beach aside. And you manage to get what you think is a appropriate sized hole going.
I feel like at this point Maya is probably looking at Danica, almost looking for reassurance that this is exactly what they are looking for.
He sort of gives you a wary smile, and it looks a little bashful, honestly. Like he's not quite sure, but he hopes so.
Glorious.
Dagmar, would you place the body in the grave and help Johan and Maya cover it while I bless it?
All right. And Dagmar carefully places it in the hole that we've just dug.
As you reach down to grasp the body and maneuver it into this makeshift grave, you hear Danik almost make a sharp sound, almost like he's trying to take in his breath, but there's nothing to take it into, so it's just a sort of earthy whistling sound that emanates from his throat, and he looks like he wants to stop you from picking him up, but then he retreats and lets you, and you are able to alleviate him back into the hole.
As they do this, Astrid takes a step back and bows her head, takes off her hat, Dervor mia, dervor mia, dervor mia, dervor mia.
As you finish your chant, Astrid, you hear the words resonate around this hall and rebound back to you as though the caverns themselves are singing alongside you. You see Danik, mystified, wide-eyed, staring at you with hope and faith in his eyes, his young face sort of morphing back into what it was in life. You see a cherubic smile, you see deep dimples, you see loving young eyes with so much promise for the future. And he reaches out to you and then retrieves his hand, looks back up and says, "Thank you." And with that, he begins to dissipate. It's slow, like a mist rolling in, like a tide retreating. And just as soon as he was standing there, just as suddenly as he approached, he is gone. And you are once again left, stood on the beach of bones, having returned one of them to the soil.
So, how many more times do you guys sing that song? There's a lot of bones on this beach. This might take a while.
Well, at least it was one that has managed to find its rest. To be able to sleep among the other realm. Surely that should warm our hearts at least.
Also, who did this? How did this? We need to get to the root of this whole situation here. So we need to start making some moves.
Yes, Dagmar. Who did this?
How the hell would I know?
You seem to be
Let's
quite
move on.
familiar.
We're not gonna have this conversation, Astrid.
It must happen sometime.
And you'd like to do it over the corpse we just buried. The revenant that was trapped here unrightfully. Would you like to stomp on the grave as we stand here?
I'd like to bring justice to his death. Yes.
Good luck with that. Let me know if you get it. And Dagmar walks off.
Dagmar, as you stride once again into the darkness, you continue down the passage where you come to where it branches out, separating into two tunnels that wind their way out into the dark.
Can I see any sort of difference between the two?
Make a logic and vigilance roll for me, please.
All right. Nope. Wrong channel. One success.
One success. As you glance left and right, you see that to the left you can just gauge the walls that are made of uneven brick jutting out at odd angles, not quite laying flush. About halfway down you see something hanging, stuck between two bricks, a small speck of something clinging to the wall. Down the right tunnel, the floor remains cool and even for a few more meters, but begins to glisten with rivulets of running water winding their way down between the cobblestones like skinny rivers. As you cast your eyes ahead, you see why parts of the stone have fallen away, creating sort of an uneven potholed space.
I would like to see what the hanging bit is.
You venture down the left tunnel, and you see, clinging between the two bricks as though caught there, is a torn piece of woolen fabric made distinctive by whirls of red, green, and gold picked out in delicate thread.
I pick it off and... Do I recognize this from anything?
Make me, please, a logic and learning test. Let's see what you can glean.
1 success.
1 success. You do not know whence this fabric has come from. You're not sure what garment it could have been from, but you do sort of know the material. You recognize it as being quite popular amongst the more rural villages to sort of take certain pieces of fabric and delicately embroider them, and this seems to be an example of that.
All right. I tuck it in with the rest of the stuff, and I decide to put on the last cloak that I put in my pouch.
You put on the last cloak. Please roll me either your logic or your empathy.
That will be empathy. Two successes.
2 successes is fantastic. You put on this robe, and once again you feel it envelope you. It has another warmth to it, that same familiarity, and you are drawn back into yourself, drawn away from the scene in front of you, and into the chapel you were standing in before, the one below ground with the woman from your pendant standing in front, to the sides, behind you. You are a hooded figure. You feel you have no other traits here. You feel your presence and your blood is all that matters. To either side of you, there is a similarly dressed hooded figure. And before you, standing before the mural where the young woman eats the heart, is a small figure. A child. Maybe about 5 years old from the height, but you can't gain much more about them. Their figure is completely hidden by the hood. It has pulled up over their face, just like the other two. But once again, you feel a sense of familiarity, of warmth, of family, a bond that is stronger than the passage of time. And as you all stand there, you in unison, the 3 of you, the tall ones, you raise your hands out before you, you take the steel knife in your hand and you make an incision across your wrists, and you let it flood onto the floor before you into the rivulets that form a cross-section on the floor. You see the child bare their hands thusly, and you see that upon their palms has been drawn in almost a charcoal 2 open eyes. And they kneel down and press their hands on either side of the rivulet on the stone as the blood begins to make their way towards them, drop by drop, inch by inch, edging closer, and the small figure keeps their hands pressed against the stone until it is running through their very palms, at which point they take their middle finger, they take a small drop of it and they put it on their tongue. And it's at that point that in the background you begin to hear screaming. And then the vision dissipates, and you are back once again in the tunnels.
With that, I decisively head down the tunnel.
All right. Dagmar, as you begin to head down, you hear the footsteps of your comrades approaching. Perhaps 10 feet behind you. Are you still trying to keep ahead of them?
Yes.
You walk on ahead. We will revisit you shortly. Maya, Johan, Astrid, you do not see Dagmar in time. You see her lantern light disappearing as she makes her way away from you, and you just catch the back of her disappear down another corridor. But you see in front of you, she has taken the left passage, and open to you now are 2 separate ones.
How curious. What path do we take? Do they speak to you guys? Can I hear the music?
I don't hear anything. Astrid, what are you thinking?
I'm trying to decide whether Dagmar has nothing to fear here or everything.
What does that even mean? I've been noticing you two been a little weird lately. Can we get some like details? Because I'm kind of in the dark. Like, what's happening here? Like, why is she gone all of a sudden?
Johan, have you seen the pendant that Dagmar wears?
Yeah.
Does it not
about it?
bear a striking resemblance to these carvings that we have found?
I mean, I guess now that you mention it, like maybe like a little bit, but yeah, like what are you getting at?
She has some connection to this place, or at least the people who were involved in running this place.
I mean, yeah, but like it's Dagmar. Come on, you know, our homie, ride or die. Like, what do you like? Even if for some reason there was some really weird connection, like it's still our friend. Come on.
Johan, I hope you can trust me when I say it does not harm I wish upon Dagmar. It is for her to stop running.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are safe until we have learned what we are running from and faced it.
I gotcha.
As you all stand there, please make me logic and vigilance rolls to discern more about the passages ahead.
Might I use the rudimentary maps I've been drawing in my map book to assist me?
You may indeed. Add an additional dice for using your assets.
I've managed to get 2 successes.
Fantastic.
And I've gotten none.
None?
Also 0.
Also 0. Luckily for both of you, Maya, as you glance into the dark, in the lantern light that Astrid is casting, you see an additional glow. Something blue-white. Something so different from the lantern light that you've all been casting and seeing by down the right tunnel. You see it glancing off of the tendrils of water that descend their way down the walls in gentle, welcoming rivulets. And you see down the right tunnel, it looks like nothing more than a tunnel with jagged walls. But you do also see that whilst the left is relatively stable, the right, some of the floor has sunken away into potholes.
How difficult to make a decision. Tell me, do we truck on and follow the yellow glow, or shall we head towards that that dancing ominous light over there? Do you see it? It's flickering. My curiosity is piqued. feel like at this point, Maya's just kind of like gesture towards the new curious thing in the shadows. Something not quite. Although, yes, Dagmar, she's down there. But have you seen this?
I suppose.
Yeah, go ahead.
I suppose Dagmar may need a moment to recenter.
Okay. Maya, will you lead them down the right?
I feel as though one should go towards Dagmar. Surely, to travel alone in these corridors are not quite so safe as we've experienced. And to have one alone, it's not quite such a good idea, I don't believe.
Here, Astrid passes Johan the lantern she was holding. I believe I can catch up if I hurry.
All right. I mean, are you sure you don't need this? I mean,
you will need it as well. Dagmar has the other.
Okay. Well, that little gap in between, don't break a hip, Grandma. So, yeah, but go ahead. I'm sure you guys can have a lot to chat about and stuff like that.
Yes, indeed.
Stay safe, Astrid. Let the path guide you.
Okay.
And you, Maya.
Astrid, with that, you depart down the left corridor. And we will stay with Maya and with Johan. What would you two like to do?
I would like to look upon the flooring and see if I can find a path that will guide my toes once more.
Okay.
Towards this curious thing that has taken my attention, I suppose.
As you cast your eyes ahead, you see where parts of the stone have fallen away. They create pools of serene water of the purest night. Even as your lantern casts light across them, they do not seem to penetrate. They just seemed to skim it, like stones across the water being skipped. There is a path, however, that would lead you directly through the degradation and forward down the tunnel, but it does involve leaping from stone to stone. Each stone has been wrapped in the unhurried embrace of a complex root system, and one of these middle islands, upon one of the root nests that has been built over time, there is a glowing flower. A pale white light emanates from the closed buds of a white water lily.
I feel as though we may have seen this botanical before,
From where?
I feel like Maya pulls out the ring that she is ever so dutifully caring for, making sure to keep its shape. See how the leaves on this, Johan? See this?
Uh-huh.
I believe this may be connected to it. But how, I'm not sure.
Listen, all right, Maya, you've been pretty on the nose since we started this whole little process, So I believe in you, I trust you, and I support you. So let's do this. Like, take your little toes and scurry on, but also be careful, though. So let's do this.
Okay. Maya, as you look down at the flower and then you look down at the ring, you notice that your assumptions are indeed correct. I won't make you roll for this. You know a water lily when you see one. You are indeed holding a ring made out of water lilies, and there one is. What would you like to do?
May I inspect it a little bit more closely, for this is not a usual place for a water lily to bloom, I don't think. I mean, there is no sunlight that I can see. In fact, there's barely any light.
Indeed. Please make me your empathy and your observation roll, and we'll see what you can learn.
I've managed to get one success. The
One
stars
success.
really are aligning tonight.
They really are. Something clearly likes you. As you examine the strange flower ahead of you, you notice, curiously, the glow is not coming from the flower per se. The glow is coming from whatever is held within. And you can see that whilst indeed this flower is blooming down here, it is not suffering at all from lack of light. It has had help to grow here and to flourish. And only this one has bloomed in exactly the position that it should to contain whatever is within it.
Johan.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the need to tiptoe, you know. I feel like I must look closer upon this. It's almost calling out to my very being. There's something curious afoot.
Okay, so tread carefully, but this also could be important. So you know what? Let's tiptoe. I'm down.
You're going with?
Yes.
Okay. I will let you two choose how you handle this. Either one of you can make the roll and take an additional dice for the help of the other, sort of watching each other's backs per se, or you may both roll separately.
Johan, how is your physique at the moment?
I'm been doing a lot of training, so I feel I'm pretty good about it right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Perhaps you should take the lead? For your steps seem to be strong, I believe.
I do tiptoe with the best of them. I got this.
You are indeed what would be known as a tiptoeing master, Johan. Let's have a roll from you with an additional dice for Maya's help in that case. Your physique for me, please, and your agility.
All right. All right, let me see here.
And do not forget my help.
Got you. With the power of friendship, we get one success.
Fantastic. You manage to leap from stone to stone, both of you, only getting your socks a tiny bit damp in the process. Upon reaching the flower, the glow from it is enough to see by, and you are both, although this island is relatively small, able to find your footing in amongst the vines and tendrils that almost keep it in position on the water, and you are both stood on the middle island with this bloom.
What do you make of it?
I'm not quite so sure yet. May I take a peek between its petals?
You may. Upon peeling back the flowers, you see nestled within is a small pale pearl, an opalescent sheen shimmering as it glows the pale white light you've been seeing.
There is something within these petals, Johan. Do you see this little... It's almost like a little round star sat right in the bud of it.
Is it expensive? Can we get some pastries with it?
I don't think we should touch it as of yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I trust you.
Can I take another glance around the room now that we are on a different angle?
Of course you can. Roll me your logic and vigilance if you are trying to get an idea of your surroundings. And Johan, are you helping in this endeavor at all?
I'm going to do my best to help, absolutely.
Understood. Please add an additional dice, Maya, for the power of friendship.
Okie dokie. One success.
Fantastic. As you glance around, you get a sense of calm from this place. And as you're looking around, you don't see too much more from it. You notice the crawling vines that are making their way between the brickwork of the walls. You notice how ever so slowly they are beginning to almost pry the walls apart as though they're trying to get to something within. And then in the dark water below you, you see where on the side of the island that you're standing on the very side of the rock, there is a few little bone-like appendages with webbing between them, like a small webbed hand that is just pressed against the side of the rock you're stood on, just below the waterline.
Huh. Johan, mind your toes a second. Keep an eye on where they are placed.
Got it.
At this point, I feel like Maya kind of kneels down to peer over this rock very gently, almost timidly, if I may. And with that, I feel like Maya, almost hushly, almost in a lullaby tone, heaving in and awaits if there is any response at all.
As you wait, you hear, Johan, you hear this too. You hear that familiar lullaby-like tone weaving its way up out of the water as though heard from a great distance, and then getting ever so slightly closer, inch by inch.
Feels a little weird. Are you feeling good? Is any shadows like tap dancing or talking to you, or like what's going on here?
I feel like this may be the song that has been following us, perhaps. I feel like as if we've been greeted by this music a few times in our adventure, but this one is slightly different. Is it grasping at us in any which way, Gabriel?
The hand, ever so slightly, very gently, when you look away to look over at Johan and then look back, it's crept up another couple of inches.
Is it almost in a threatening posture, or is it almost timidly?
Doesn't seem so. Laura, roll me your observation and empathy for trying to discern the motives of what you're seeing.
One success.
One success. It seems curious.
Well, I feel the same in return, if I'm honest. Johan, tell me, how would you greet a stranger?
I would walk up to them and ask them if they wanted to train and spar with me a little bit.
I don't think that might be the right form of greeting in this situation.
Oh. I mean, if you want to like be boring about it, I see everybody else just like shake hands, but like, you know, I mean, it's got one hand. I mean, you can just like do a thingy with it. I don't know.
May I place one finger upon the water? Just one. Just almost not quite breaking, but just making contact.
You can. As you do so, you see the hand pull back from the stone, turn in the water oh so elegantly, and then beckon. And then hold its palm out.
Johan. I believe there may be two options here. And I think one may be more riskier than the other at this point.
Just to clarify, run me through those options just so I know we're on the same page here.
One is perhaps we remain on this little bit of rock.
Okay.
Maybe, perhaps take the pill with us. Perhaps. Perhaps. Maybe we would follow Dagmar and Astrid down the other tunnel. Or see this hand? One of us should take it. And perhaps has the sight to show us. Or
Well,
asking.
with the options that we have, I mean, between like Astrid and Dagmar, I mean, they're kind of like got some really weird like tension beef. So, I mean, technically, you know, they're both like rough situations. Like it's like sitting in on a really awkward dinner with like, you know, family. Like God. So I don't know which one's the best option here because they probably do need time to like talk. So I will leave this up to you and I will support it.
I cannot tell if the ripples are asking for an object or perhaps a hand. And with this, I would like to almost flutter my hand above it, tentatively thinking, wondering if it might show a bit more of itself.
As you do this, you hear the singing change somewhat. There's almost a low chuckle at the back of the throat of whoever or whatever is singing this tune. And you see in the water as something dances lightly. Tendrils, almost like seaweed, but finer. Hair, perhaps? And then another hand reaches up to join the other, forming a kind of bowl shape with its hands.
Could it perhaps be asking for the lily? Perhaps. Johan, thoughts?
I mean, why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen, you know? Just, why don't you just put it in the palms?
A lily does not grow in a place like this willingly. It would need some sort of attention towards it. So there is also the risk that if we were to pluck it, it may see that as us damaging its surroundings. So there is also that.
Okay. This is getting a little dicey, and usually the brains of the operation is Astrid, so I don't know. This is all feeling like a little weird. So, like, if you want, we could probably head back to Dagmar and Astrid to make sure that they're good, just to make sure that we have, like, because we know where this place is. We got it all pretty much down. We know how to get here. We know what's happening here, and I'm sure, like, Mr. Hands isn't going to go anywhere because he doesn't have any feet. So, do you want to regroup and then come back, or do you want to just, like, see this all the way through? What are you thinking?
Well, the trouble with creatures upon this plane is that the meetings are ever so chance that you don't always get a second.
Fair.
Gabriel, is the way its hand sitting is in that of a bowl? So it is beckoning for something.
I would say from your empathy roll from last time, you get the idea that it is asking for something. Almost childlike, asking for something to be placed in its hands.
This is a toughie, if I'm honest. What could it be asking for? The only thing I can think of is the lily, for that is what is here, but I also don't want to damage its home.
You do notice that you could probably pluck the pearl from the lily without doing any damage to the flower.
May I try that?
You may indeed. You reach in and you pluck this lily from where it is clasped in the petals here. And you see as it lights the room with a calming glow speckled with luminous pinpricks, like a starlit night. As you are illuminated by it, you feel a sense of calm wash over you, and you recover all mental conditions, both of you, that you have taken.
Boys?
It's a pretty nice little lily we got there. We should have found this thing sooner.
Yes. If only our friends were with us, it may have alleviated their issues too.
If we hold on to this, though, does, like, the power kind of, like, stay with us? Can it also cure their ailments if we, like, kind of keep this really god-tier flower on us?
We're not sure.
Perhaps we should give it back as an offering to the creature below?
Possibly. I mean, it did make us feel good. Maybe it'll make them feel good.
May we do that?
You may. As you go to put this pearl in the hands that have reached up, you see the undulating webbing between their sort of bone-like fingers, and they clasp around it and pull it down into the depths. You wait 2 seconds, 3, 5. You see something ripple in the water below. A current shifts. And then you see the hands appear once again, and this time it's holding another lily, a fully formed lily. The other pearl is gone, but it's holding the same type of flower with that same luminous glow, and it just offers it up to you.
Huh. How about that?
Isn't it so giving with its quiet nature?
So what now? Now we've pretty much seen that, like, do we just kind of like keep recycling these little lilies or whatever, or do we just like head back?
Shall we place in the spot where the other lily is and return back to hunt our friends? Do you think, Johan? Or shall we take it with us?
If the last lily helped us out, maybe this one can help us out too. And I have a basket with a lot of things in it, so like we can just,
Johan, what kind of shoes are you wearing?
Good ones. I don't know.
Sort of nice chunky boots, maybe?
Yeah.
Understood. These hands place this closed lily sort of on the side of the rock. They'll place it there. And then pause. Sort of spider their way to the right. And they reach out dart-like, grab your shoelace, and give it a solid yank. And then disappear back into the water with your shoelace.
Of all the things in the world, I lost shoelaces. Okay, I mean, there are worse ways to go. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't the worst thing I could have lost. Well, I'm laceless. What was your take on that, Maya?
Perhaps it's just playful. After all.
You hear another laugh, sort of a low chuckle.
See, Johan? It's playful.
All right, listen here, spirits. Takes off his other shoe, rips the lace off, and then swings it around his head and asks if they want it.
You see a splash right in front of you in the water, and then another directly behind you. Johan, please make me a physique and agility test.
All right. No successes.
Oof. You feel something damp and light, and for some reason, it's not very well put together. You're not sure what it was, sort of collide with the back of your head, and then it sloughs to the floor and impacts. And you see that it's a rotten fish carcass that has been thrown at the back of your head.
Okay, so the demons got jokes. Hilarious. We're having a good time here. I'm gonna put that in my basket, by the way, too. I got a lot of really weird things going on in here. What's going on here, Maya? Can you talk to them? Are you dancing with them? What's happening?
I believe they may just be a playful entity beyond the waters, if I'm honest, Johan. Maybe it hasn't seen another being in a little while.
Why do they mess with me? What? Gosh, they can freaking mess with you too.
Yeah, I suppose. But maybe it sees more fun out of you, Johan, for you do not partake in such things sometimes.
That is true. That is true. Well, now that we're having ourselves a good old time here, we should probably make some moves because we've been here for a little while. So let's do something. I don't know what, but I don't have shoes. So think about that.
Are you taking the lily with you?
Maya?
Johan?
Maya?
Johan?
You know, after our very, very, intellectual conversation, I think we should take the lily with us.
Do you think?
I mean, why not? It made us feel good. We could probably bring it back to them. I'm sure they're going to, have this really weird conversation where Dagmar's like, oh my gosh, you can't tell me nothing. You're not my real mom. And then Astrid's going to be like, oh, but listen, Dagmar, you should probably tell us what's going on. So they're going to need this lily probably, right? So we should probably bring it back.
You know what? Sure. How about we leave your other shoelace down upon the ground as a peace offering before we make tracks?
They can have it. It's fine.
Okay. You take the lily with you, leave your offering of shoelaces behind, and once again, alight into the tunnels. We will switch scene briefly as the whatever creature has been playing with these two descends back into the dark, diving down beneath the waters again. We will trace back through the tunnels towards Dagmar as she storms away, and Astrid hurriedly making her way behind her. Astrid, you catch up to Dagmar just as you both reach the final stretch of these tunnels. Down here in these tunnels, it's easy to lose all sense of time and place. There is nothing but the crushing force of dirt above you, and Dagmar, as you go forward with nothing but the lantern, nothing seems to have any more meaning. Everything seems to lose direction. The passage of time especially, but pass it does. And eventually you turn a corridor to reach the tunnel's end, and you see a heavy-set steel door, next to which is a small chest nestled against the wall, just out of the way of the path, mud caked on its edge as though people have cleaned their boots on it on the way out of here, just as Astrid hurriedly runs up behind you.
What are you doing here? I've got my own.
We did not think you should travel alone. The others took another path.
Well, that seems highly irresponsible, doesn't it?
Yes, Dagmar, wandering off on your own is highly irresponsible.
What's your move here, Astrid? What are you trying to do? What's your game?
Dagmar, you cannot keep running from things. They will always catch up. At the worst possible time, they will catch up. And just not facing whatever it is that you are trying not to face is not going to make things better. It will make things worse. Not just for you now, for all of us. That is my game.
I have nothing to face, Astrid. I dealt with my problems ages ago. And unlike what you think, you have no say over me. Just what? Because you're older? Because you've been with the society longer? I've been in and out of that place. I live my own life. I have my own things to do. I've had my own life before you came along. One that you should stop digging into.
Dagmar, I am content to leave your past to you. But it has started to affect us here. I have lived, as you so astutely observed, a very long time. And that has been because I have kept an eye out for danger and for things that can harm me. And right now, this is danger.
Well, if I remember correctly, it was you who brought us here. It was you that said we should go here. It was your path all along. I didn't want to come here. I didn't know what was going to be here. I still don't know what is here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But before you start pointing fingers, take a look in the mirror. It was you who brought us here. It was you that put us into this situation.
Yes, Dagmar. Yes. I brought us here. I had the foolishness to trust in the society's plans, yes. And then to follow them here. And now that we're here, what are we going to do?
I don't know, okay? All I know is that there's things going on here beyond any of our imagination. And I don't know what's going on here, all right? All I'm trying to do is figure it out. And that goes a lot easier if I don't have somebody breathing down my neck.
We don't have the luxury of time, Dagmar.
I'm not saying that we do.
There is more here than just a revenant. Surely you know that much.
I do.
And if you don't know what your connection to this place is, let us try to figure that out together. If you cannot figure this out alone, then certainly I cannot. This is somehow connected to you. You know this. I know this.
It might be. It might be connected to Maya or her friend or whoever it was. I don't know, okay? If you come along, promise me you'll trust me. Trust me to do the right thing, because quite honestly, I don't think you do.
Very well, Dagmar.
All right. Thank you.
Will you trust me? I do not wish to see you come to harm.
I think I have no choice but to trust you. Don't let me down.
We are all running out of choices these days.
All right. Let's look at this door, shall we?
As you sort of both come to this moment of tense agreement, here at the very end of these tunnels, you hear footsteps approaching behind you to see Maya and Johan approach. Maya and Johan, as you approach upon the two in what appears to be some sort of standoff between each other, stepping back from a tense conversation, you see a large sort of steel door marking the end of the tunnel, and you see a small wooden chest with a steel latch sort of pressed into the side of the wall.
Did you abandon your path?
Not quite. More like have a path revealed before us.
It was pretty eventful, actually.
Johan, what happened to your shoes?
Long story. But we brought Lily with us. Yeah, you guys are a little down right now. This thing helped us feel better. Maybe you guys want to take a look at it, maybe?
You're handing over the lily?
Yes.
Okay. Who is taking it? Who are you handing it to?
I am handing it over to Astrid because Dagmar might pocket it.
Astrid, you are handed a small white water lily in which there is emanating a sort of white-blue glow that seems to be coming from within the petals itself.
I glance over a bit from it to Maya. A flower.
Yes, in the most peculiar of setting.
Johan, do you realize this is the second time you've offered us flowers?
True. And have you realized every time I offered flowers, we became closer as friends? Yeah?
See your strategy here.
Exactly. So don't be surprised if you get more flowers later on. Just toss it out there now at this point.
Thank you.
Got you, Granny.
Does this have something to do with your shoes?
Surprisingly, yes. Long answer, no. But Maya has more details than I do. I was just kind of the moral support there.
Did you want those details?
While we are looking at what this door holds, perhaps you can tell us. And Astrid will, into her shirt, sort of fasten this lily.
Okay. As you sort of approach this door, you see that it is a quite sort of standard construction. Very, very interestingly, it's very well made. For you folks, you've not seen a door made out of pure metal before. This is extremely odd to all of you, and you recognize the mechanism, though. You recognize where there is a handle that you can decompress in order to open the door, and you see that it sort of, there's a rattle to it in the frame. You also see that both it and the sort of small muddy chests pressed against the wall, neither of them have any sort of lock on them.
I open the chest.
As you do so, you reveal sort of bundles of material, overcoats, scarves, various bits of warm weather gear. And in amongst this is something you recognize, Dagmar. You recognize because you have a scrap of it in your pocket. There is a garment that matches it, a shawl patterned with wells of green, red, and gold thread. Maya, you too recognize this immediately.
This... I've seen this fabric before.
What? Where? What is it?
Upon the many paths, upon the many moons. I believe I may have graced a fabric just like this once, many sunsets ago. With this, I feel like Maya is wanting to go and play with the fabric, to feel, to breathe it, to let it emanate, to ruffle up her memories.
Of course. You take it, sort of feel it in your fingers, and you remember how many years ago now, you remember the feel of this as you would put your arm around Natalia and bring her in close for a hug, and you would feel that almost the comforting scratchiness of the embroidery amidst the warmth and softness of the wool, and you would feel friendship and closeness. There's a hint of her scent still on it.
So it is... Oh, Natalia. Goodness. Sorry, excuse me. I have not seen this fabric in many moons. I thought they were gone. What could they be doing down here?
Maya, I think you might want to see this. And I, take the little scrap piece and hand it to her. This was stuck, down the hall. I think she might have been in a hurry.
Perhaps. But what is she doing here? I thought I lost her many moons ago. But what? How? Why? Here? How are our paths crossing now?
What are you talking about, Maya?
A friend of mine. Many moons ago, back in my village. She went missing, you see. I thought I lost her upon the well. But she wasn't there. There was another being there. For that... I will not go into details about that well. It's far too... But Natalia, she was... I thought she was swallowed by that. But how could she be here? I've been looking for her for so many moons. How is it now only our paths cross now, but not before?
Maybe she's behind this door?
Perhaps she is, yes. We should go onwards, I believe. For this, I'd like to think Baz just sat quietly.
All right. Dagmar, are you leading the way?
I try to open the door, yeah.
Yeah. It opens easily under your grasp. The door swinging open causes the sound of a small bell to reverberate around the tunnel, a gentle, silvery tinkling noise. And upon opening the door, you find yourselves stepping out of the oppressive darkness of the tunnel. Lifting the lanterns, only to find out you no longer need them, you can see you've entered a large circular room with crates stacked on each side, portraying a 5-spoked wheel. In the center of the room, a metallic spiral staircase allows for rickety passage up to a higher floor, light filtering down through the open door, forming rays of sunshine in which dust motes play. But no, it's not sunshine at all. It's moonlight, pale and washed out, yet still comforting. It smells of mothballs and age down here, and as the door closes behind you and you all step into this room, you finally, left in the dry and quiet, find yourselves alone, apart from the sound of each other's breathing. And it is with that moment, drawing back from the place in which our Thursday's children find ourselves, that we once again cast our eyes out into the wider world. We see the water stretching out for miles. We see a tall, towering figure with dull lenses sat atop it, still and lightless, and somewhere in the water, something moves. And that is where we will end our session for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and for being with us here today. We appreciate all of you. This has been Adventure Tavern's Vaesen story, Dark Tide, Rising Waters, Episode 3, Canary. I have been your game master this evening. I have been Gabriel. or at Good and Chaotic, various places around the internet. Just your friendly local trans man cryptid doing his best. But of course, I could not have done this show without all of the wonderful people who helped me make it happen. So with that, I will go around each of my cast and allow them to introduce themselves. Maya, my dear, who are you in the real world?
Outside the lands of curiosity, I am Mizuki. I am a streamer on Twitch, and I do all sorts of yelling and screaming in horrible lands. I'm not quite as quiet as this in the other world, though, I gotta be honest. So you can hunt me down with Mizuki all over the place if you really wish to see that chaos, but I don't.
It is beautiful chaos. Dagmar, you next.
I'm Zara Zodiac. I've been Dagmar today. You can find me on Twitch under the same name and pretty much anywhere else. I stream a lot of games. Currently mostly Oblivion, but pretty much any game you can imagine because I made the promise to play every single game that I own, which is very smart of me. So yeah, come over and say hi.
Again, glorious chaos. That's the theme here. Johan, what's good?
Going on, guys? I'm Super Anthony, literally everywhere, and I love the anime weeaboo stuff, and dabble in the occasional Final Fantasy 14. So come hang out if you want. Fantastic.
Astrid.
I am Dinsdale, your resident Armenian, both in and out of game. I am mostly on Twitch. Technically, I guess I have a Twitter, but and I play all sorts of different games, story games, action games, all sorts of things, and we just have a good time supporting one another.
Great. Thanks, guys.
And apparently a great singer.
And you're a great singer! Oh my goodness, Astrid! Didn't steal my heart. Oh no. Okay, right. Thank you so much, Cass. You've been amazing and stunning as usual. I hope you're not too traumatized after that. The bad story's over now. It's me. I'm nice. This has been Adventure Tavern. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, as always, to our fantastic producer, the one, the only, Valen Vane. You're incredible, my dude. Thank you for making this happen. To Lily, my co-writer and overall hype human. You're the best. Love ya. Southpaw, our designer, who makes the incredible visuals that you see at the beginning of every episode and during the break. And then we've got sort of Goldie and also LSP, who did some voice lines for us and various shenanigans. They're cool too. And then just Harry, who's our resident nuisance and also my hype man. And I love you all. You guys are the best. And I'm gonna go and drink like a gallon of hot chocolate now. Yeah, love you all. That will be it from us this evening. And yeah, see you here next time, next week, 8 p.m. BST. We'll be back for more spooky shenanigans. Wherever the gang ended up now, we don't know. We're gonna find out. It's gonna be fun. We hope to see you back here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye, folks.